Previously on Big Finish's classic Doctor Who, The Sixth Doctor, Constance asked the Doctor to take her home. Flip got married and the Doctor didn't attend. Perry is married to Brian Blessed, /dead, /bitter and middle-aged and missing most of her memory, /working as a wrestling manager. Perry's continuity is a hell of a time. Mel is yet to be introduced, /has been in one story already. Hebe's yet to be introduced and is kind of annoyed about it. Charlie is a unique space-time event, and Evelyn is still dead. But only two of these matter for this video. Hello and welcome to the quick guide to Big Finish Classic Who, Constance and Flap. In case you missed the earlier stories, I'm going by companions because for most Classic Who releases, Big Finish didn't have series, the stories tended to jump around each Doctor's timeline, and as far as I can tell, there's no official, authoritative, agreed upon timeline for adventures. So I've separated them out by companion, hopefully it'll make things easier for everyone, and make it harder for me to miss any stories. This is about what I call the Dream Team, Constance and Flap. The perfect mix of companions, almost grown in a lab to complement each other, and to refuse to take any of the Doctor's bullshit.
Doctor, her husband shacked up with some other woman. She thought it was me at first.
Oh, Constance. I'm sorry. I had no idea.
I know you have no idea when it comes to certain things, Doctor.
Oh, you could say that again.
Hmm?
So, want my replacement then, are you?
Difficult to say. The Doctor doesn't exactly do things in chronological order.
Good point.
I know. Does he still wear
that coat?
Yeah. On the understanding that once everything is happily concluded, I return you both back to your own times and places.
Right where we left off.
As previously agreed.
As you will. I don't stand a chance against the two of you, do I? Come along then, ladies.
You and me, Connie. I reckon we've got him on the ropes.
Quite.
Here I am, you two. I said I wouldn't be long.
Oh, about time.
Well, anything interesting happen?
Not exactly.
Right then, because we can visit the pump room and the promenade. But unfortunately, the tickets for this evening's grand ball eluded me.
Or is it sold out?
More a case of lack of resources.
You mean you didn't have the cash?
Do you know how much they were charging?
No.
Never mind. We're still going to enjoy ourselves.
Oh, yeah. Lol.
I am not. Nor am I the great deliverer, nor the ferryman.
Well, we had wondered.
Oh, don't you start.
No, we had, actually, really.
Busy city. Technologically quite advanced, I'd say. An Earth colony, judging by the architecture.
Doctor, you can't possibly know that at a glance.
I don't know. He's a bit of an Earth spotter, isn't he, our Doctor? With his pocket guide to human stuff and his little pencil to circle what he sees.
Yes, thank you, Flip.
Okay, newsflash. This isn't my wedding.
And this isn't 1944. Doctor, you said you were taking me home.
Yes, I'm sorry about that. I'll get you there eventually, but something came up.
Oh, here we go. Brace yourself for a load of space jargon, Connie.
Quite.
Well, just for that, I was going to offer you both the shelter of my umbrella, but now I'm not so sure.
Ooh. Well, come on, budge up. I'm getting soaked out here.
Oh, all right.
If it was any other Doctor, except for maybe 12 or 1, this might constitute bullying. I mean, he's not allowed to call them Constance and Philippa, he has to call them Mrs. Clark and Flap. Well, they can call each other what they like. Flip even gets away with calling Constance Connie, and she likes it.
Philippa.
Constance?
Oh, Connie. I like it when you call me Connie.
Oh, I was never sure.
Well, I do.
Then Connie it is.
Out of all the Doctors, 6 is the strongest, the largest personality, and this is perfect for keeping him from dominating everything. 5 was constantly surrounded by a crowded TARDIS, and he was so meek that he crumbled under the weight of everyone else, but 6 can easily hold his own. Anyway, the first story is Quicksilver. The Doctor takes Constance home. Kinda. He literally takes her home instead of Bletchley Park, and it's not the day she left, but months later. She's not annoyed, though, because apparently she requested leave.
Thank you, Director. 3 months' leave from Bletchley was just the ticket, though I'm afraid I may have ended up taking slightly longer.
Which she definitely didn't do in Crisscross. They were explicit that she left home when she left, so it was though she never left. So either they came back earlier and requested a leave between stories, or this is a retcon. It's a retcon. because there's a lot of drama going on and there's not enough room to add Constance being fucked off at the doctor for making her a deserter, destroying her career, and possibly endangering her life, because deserters were sometimes shot. Anyway, we get some extra context for why she left with the doctor. Not only is her husband missing, but the morning he left to go on a mission, she found out he was having an affair.
Darling, it looks like Ginger's here with a car.
Shan't be a moment. My dearest H. Well, that's not my writing. Nor my scent.
So Constance is back home and she finds a telegram informing her that he's not only having an affair and missing, but dead.
That undelivered telegram was delivered. Lieutenant Commander Henry Clark. Lost in action. 2 weeks ago. They can't even tell me where it was that he...
Constance.
Meanwhile, the Doctor meets an alien called Kinvar who's on the run from the Valal, a military species locked in a war. He doesn't want to be drafted and tried to get the Doctor's help when he was at Bletchley Park and Crisscross, but just missed him. So Kinvar decided to barter some alien tech with a British soldier, Henry Clark, Constance's husband. To make this even more complicated, they all end up a few years in the future in Vienna in 1948, where Constance's husband is living with his new wife Anna, who he met doing spy work during the war. And they meet a confused young woman called Flip and take her in.
I'm thinking this must be to do with the doctor. You're sure you don't know him?
You need a doctor? Do you feel unwell?
No, I don't think so.
Perhaps you are still confused from your journey.
I reckon I must be. It's him, isn't it? Just the kind of thing he'd do. Spring a surprise honeymoon. Only, someone should have told him. If you're going on honeymoon, it's normal to bring your husband along.
Flip was grabbed by the Valal from a wedding reception. You see, the Doctor accidentally dropped his invitation to the wedding, and the Valal found it and decided that should be perfect leverage on him.
I knew you wouldn't miss it. Doctor, I was really hoping you'd make it along. Okay, so you missed the registry office and the first punch-up, but there should still be some cake left. I saved some, especially. Doctor? Are you there? Is that you?
Flip was nabbed with a time scoop, a thing used to grab people and deposit them in a different time and place. I think it was first seen in the Five Doctors. And Flip's description even lines up with how it looked in the remastered Five Doctors.
What's that? Hello? Uh-oh. Of course. Weird floaty whirlpool hanging in the air. It's got to be you, Doctor.
Though I do prefer the original 80s version. Much more primitive, but much freakier. Anyway, in Vienna, Constance runs into her husband, assumes that Flip's the woman he's having an affair with, and, well, she's brutal.
Well, isn't this nice? What a charming little scene.
Constance. Constance, is that you?
It is, Henry.
Aren't you going to introduce us?
And look, you've attracted a young admirer. Quite the ingenue.
Hiya, Constance, was it? Wait a minute. You might have got the wrong idea.
I know who you are, and I've no wish to make your acquaintance.
Well, hang on. Am I missing something here?
You are missing your morals.
My word!
Now this sounds a bit like a soap opera, and to its credit it's not. The drama treats all the characters as fairly as possible, even Constance's husband.
Anna was... When you work with someone in that intensity, that danger...
So, I wasn't thrilling enough for you?
We married young, Constance. I was in service, always away.
I should have known better than to have my head turned by a dashing sub-lieutenant. Straight from university. I'd never seen London. I'd barely met any men.
Are you saying I took advantage?
No, I'm saying you should have had the decency to let me know.
I'm not going into detail about the sci-fi stuff because it's not the important part of the story, but it is mostly good. This is a very strong run, and this is one of the weaker stories, but it's easily in the level of the good earlier Flip and Constance ones. Not as good as their very best, but easily above average. One amazing bit in this is when the Doctor, through some sci-fi bullshit, ends up projecting a 30-foot-tall version of himself wearing Time Lord robes to intimidate the Valal and their enemy into peace. It's glorious.
One more shot, and you will feel the wrath of Gallifrey. 10 million years of absolute power.
10 million years of absolute power.
Visited upon the houses of Vilal and Zerith. Zerith and Vilal alike, hear me.
OMG. What happened? The Doctor's the height of a house. And what is he wearing? I thought the coat was bad enough.
Hush, Philippa. A uniform has its uses.
What are you? Why do we obey?
I am a Time Lord. Lord President of Gallifrey, no less. We are watchers of the universe. Our view spans all of time and space. You can only imagine the power we wield.
Oh, that collar. That hat. If that's how he poshes up on his planet, I'm glad he didn't come to the wedding after all. He'd have shown me right up. Shh.
Anyway, Flip decides against going home right away because she has more important things to do, like make firm friends with Constance.
Philippa, I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
And be one of the best TARDIS teams in the show's history. Their first trip in the Behemoth takes them to 18th century England for a pure historical. One of Six's very few and written at Colin Baker's request. I hope he requests it again soon. I love pure historicals. For a reminder, pure historicals are historicals where there's no sci-fi elements beyond the TARDIS crew and the TARDIS. So no alien invasion or time melting or whatever. Around the same time, they made the Peterloo Massacre, and both are designed to be about dark chapters in Britain's past. In the Peterloo Massacre, it's the Peterloo Massacre, where the army massacred protesters for democracy. And the Behemoth, it's slavery. The problem is, while Peterloo is a serious and maudlin affair with a proper sense of impending doom, the Behemoth is kind of a silly melodrama that runs into slavery every so often. And it's a good melodrama, what with each of the crew finding an admirer. The Doctor's is Mrs. Middleman, an older rich widow with a tiny dog who he helps get out of a bubble imposed on her by society and her family.
What must His Majesty have thought, if he was really there?
Well, I hope my tricks compensated for his disappointment.
Oh, I'm sure. Oh, Doctor, my dear brother would not approve.
What, of us taking hot chocolate together?
Of the coffee house. Oh, I was never inside one before. It is so insalubrious.
Is he really that protective? Then I apologise for leading you astray.
Oh, no, the company is most congenial.
Even if its charms are obscured by other people's pipe smoke?
But the most agreeable sight of all, Doctor, is barely obscured at all.
It was honestly kind of touching. No romance, just vague possibilities and a connection. Kind of reminded me of One and Kamaka back in the Aztecs.
And I am content to spend the time here like the others.
Oh, but their minds are old, Kameka, and that's something I'm sure yours will never be.
Your heart is young, true, Doctor.
Constance falls in with a Scottish abolitionist and even considers staying and joining up with Wilberforce, the leader of the British abolitionists in Parliament.
Constance? A penny for them?
Well, I thought I might stop travelling. I could seek out William Wilberforce and help the abolitionists. But I know too much, don't I? I might upset the apple cart.
And the Abolition Act will happen anyway.
Yes. Silly idea.
Not at all.
And Flip, poor Flip, gets the attention of a silent movie villain who owns a plantation and plans on dragging her to Jamaica to be his unwilling bride. If the steam train was invented, he'd have tied her to the tracks at least twice.
Who's that?
Good morning, Mrs. Ramon.
Oh, get off me!
Into the wagon with you.
Get off! Ow! Let me out! Let me out, Craven!
Drive up. The road to Bristol, if you please. I'll be right behind you.
I don't want anything from you.
Take your time, my love. Consider your position. Lost and alone, and with an offer you cannot refuse. You have until morning. But now I have the means to start a proper menagerie.
Am I included in that?
You're running out of time.
So, your proposal? I know it's just a business deal, not true love at all, or whatever that is.
And?
Well, I suppose I might be interested. But you're hardly in my league, are you? I mean, you'd have to prove yourself worthy.
You insulting baggage.
And the other problem is, well, the clue is in the name. Mrs. Ramon. You see the ring? That cost Jared a week's pay.
Where we are going, that will not be an obstacle.
Philippa or Clara?
And why can't I have both?
Or just like a man? Well, tough!
Oh! Oh!
Clara? Here, come on. Out you come. Walkies.
No! Philippa, put the gun down.
Never heard of pistol whipping. Get out of my way.
How very endearing. Bewitching, is she not?
Running away like that. What were you thinking?
She is tired. Too much exhilaration.
Of course.
Come on now, I'll take that.
No! Ow!
Thank you. Come away, Philippa.
Connie!
Come away!
They came for me. I said they would. Constance was there.
Too late now. You can write to them.
The ladies' cabin is below, sir.
Don't you look at me like that. Don't you dare.
Separate cabins, madam. I respect your sensibilities. These matters take time.
Mine is an evil laugh.
Also in the mix is Lady Clara, famous rhinoceros, also known as the Impossible Rhinoceros, who was touring Europe at the time with her Dutch owner.
I'm in egg. It's a rhino.
Clara!
Lady Clara is a rhino.
And the most important element, because their plight ties it all together, a married couple called Gorambe and Sarah, slaves owned by the cruel Sir Geoffrey Balsam, brother of Mrs. Middleman.
Gorambe, are you there?
Over here, in the shadows. Oh, Sarah.
There is food here, from the table.
Oh, so hungry. Did they see you?
No, I was careful. Where will you go?
I came for you. We can run together.
No, they are hunting you. Sir Geoffrey said you hurt a man. Burned him.
I did not mean to. I had no choice.
Someone is coming. Hide yourself. Doctor! There is someone there. On the pile of rags.
Yes. Oh, he's had a nasty beating, poor fellow. Look at the state of his back. And now they're done, they've chucked him aside.
Gorambe.
Kick over the fire, my brothers. The slavers are coming.
Is it him?
Gorambe. I am here.
Is it the dawn yet? Don't let them see me. And don't tell her. Hide me away.
It is me.
This is often fantastic, but be warned that the first half of the story moves at a very deliberately glacial pace. For much of the start, we're basically getting to hear Six, Constance, and Flip just react to the time period. A bit like Statler and Waldorf.
It's these long skirts. It's a different way of standing. Correct deportment.
Oh, fitting in with the past as usual.
1756.
Oh, whatever. But it's like I'm back at my wedding.
Ugh, I know. On parade.
I thought I'd got over all that. You look all right though, Connie.
Oh, thank you. It suits you too. You know, really.
Oh, you must look like a walking meringue.
No, you don't.
Oh, tush, tush, Hercules. Keep still. What is that?
It's a pug.
It's more like a walking sausage roll.
Sarah, take the dog.
Yes, master. That's never had a good run in its life.
Oh, help me out. Help me out.
Blimey. If I'm the meringue, she's the full pavlova.
Stop it.
Whoa, rotten eggs. You'd think they'd do something about the pong.
Now that's the sulphur from the thermal spring.
Which is meant to be medicinal.
Oh, it is highly efficacious. Does wonders for the muscles.
OMG. They go in fully clothed. Look at them.
But no one's actually swimming, just walking up and down.
And it's called taking a turn around the pool. History, you see, full of surprises. Isn't that worth the trip?
And I bet they haven't invented chlorine yet.
Invented?
So Oliver and Lady are students.
Do I have to wear gloves?
De rigueur, I'm afraid. But only in the ballroom, not at supper.
That makes all the difference.
I think one might miss out the dancing. That would be asking for trouble.
Oh, you and me both. It's too complicated. It's like line dancing for grannies.
Sir Roger and Lady Messer.
And then suddenly it all takes off. And honestly, the first half is the stronger half. I just love Flip and Constance reacting to the 18th century, to its weird ways, to its terrible shit, and to the Doctor for fitting in so well.
Might I have the honour?
Oh, sir, you may indeed.
Oh, I can't look. He'll never get away with it.
Except that... Good grief. It's rather good. At least you've abandoned the coat.
Breeches not too tight. Quite elegant, I thought.
I'm still in shock.
Pretty sure they mentioned the Doctor's dick there. The stuff about slavery, though, is kind of a disappointment. The characters are very stock. They stop the story so we can learn a very important lesson that slavery is bad.
The Caribbean. That is where your brothers will have been taken. For sale to the plantation owners.
And then the same ships bring sugar, coffee and tobacco grown by the slaves back to sell in England. That's how it goes, in a vile circle.
Philip Naylor died for denouncing the slave trade.
I see this in every land we visit. It is the nature of man. The strongest crushes the weak.
Sarah, yesterday I drank hot chocolate in a well-to-do coffee house. How many lives did that cost, do you think? There are good people here too, but the slave trade is England's dark heart.
It's kind of like Orphan 55, honestly, but forgivable because recent history has demonstrated that unsubtle is sometimes fucking necessary. Anyway, the Doctor also convinces a slave rebellion to put down their arms and destroy them without bloodshed.
We have weapons now!
You can barely stand, and your back needs treatment. As for the guns, do you really need to use them?
The Doctor is right. They are bad weapons, made with slave workers' blood.
Then how do we fight?
There are better ways, believe me.
The Doctor is right.
It is true. These guns are bad, my brothers. They are full of wickedness. Throw them into the dragon's mouth.
A wise decision, Yorembe, thank you.
This whole place is bad.
Yes, you're right there.
Obviously, they end up okay because it's Doctor Who and they wrote it that way, but this is very much New Who's more liberal idea of morality seeping into classic Who via Big Finish. It's the idea that revolution is bad and there's always a better way without violence, that the moral arc of the universe is long but bends towards justice without people forcing it. And this idea is literally part of the story, what with Constance offering to help Wilberforce end British slavery, but the Doctor told her that it would bend that way without her help.
Constance? A penny for them?
Well, I thought I might stop travelling. I could seek out William Wilberforce and help the abolitionists, but I know too much, don't I? I might upset the apple cart.
And the Abolition Act will happen anyway.
Yes.
Classic Who was often stupid. I mean, time flight exists, but it was much more nuanced and realistic on this kind of thing than New Who. Revolutions happen, they are violent, people die, but sometimes they are necessary because pure pacifism from the oppressed just gets them killed. This was the point of the Daleks all the way back in 1963.
They're afraid of you because you're different from them. So whatever you do, it doesn't matter.
What would you have us do? Fight against them?
I didn't say that. But you must teach them to respect you. Show them some strength.
But you really believe we ought to fight?
Yes, I think it may have to come to that. I wonder if there's any point in reminding the Thals of what they used to be.
Why?
Oh, they're opposed to fighting. We were trying to convince them that it was a necessity for their own survival.
But
anyway, I do not like how the matter of slavery is handled in this. It's very neat, stock, and deliberately as unchallenging as possible. The villains are villainous, the victims are peaceful, and they end up okay. The Doctor's friend, Mrs. Middlemint, has a slave, for instance, but the story never grapples with that. I just wanted the slaves to go sunmakers on their oppressors. Is that too much to ask for? Anyway, apart from all that, and that is a big all that, this is a really fun story. I love a pure historical, and the mix of the Doctor being in his element and Constance and Flip riffing everything was just fantastic. I wish they'd do more of that. Next up is the middle, and it's as close as we're ever likely to get to Terry Gilliam at his best doing Doctor Who. The trio arrive on the planet Formica. The name's actually a clue as to what's going on.
I see we've landed. I think some fresh air may be in order.
Oh, I don't think it'll be quite fresh, Mrs. Clark. I'm detecting a heavily recycled atmosphere. But it appears they've added a little bit of flavouring.
Anyway, they're in a city totally enclosed in a planet, and there's no one over 35 anywhere to be seen. Life is nothing but ease and joy. One big party called the Beginning.
Oh, I do hope we can find something better to do. Even a spot of deadly peril would be fine.
Well, I'm sure some deadly peril will be along in due course, Mrs. Clark. But you may be in luck, Flip. It looks like they're having some kind of carnival down below.
Oh, that'll do the trick. Doctor, this is perfect.
That's one way of putting it. I've never seen so much public debauchery.
Just you wait for VE Day.
I'm sorry?
I rather like it down here. Everything's so vibrant.
Who would think that?
It's all fun and games until you hit 35, which Constance is about to do. You see, at age 35, you are zapped from the beginning and taken to the middle, who run the city. A never-ending office, kind of like Brazil or Loki. And there you get given a job which you do until exhaustion every day with almost no time off. It reminds Constance of Bletchley Park.
Time to wake up, my dear.
What? Where am I?
We don't take kindly to staff falling asleep at their desks, but as you're a new arrival, I'll let it slide.
Am I back at Bletchley?
I have no idea what you're saying.
No. All glass. All windows. This must be...
This is the middle. Welcome.
the middle.
And happy birthday. 35 is a year of new responsibility. There will be a welcome celebration for you at the end of the working day, with cake. But for now, just get your feet under the table, try and introduce yourself around.
And as for the doctor, he nearly broke the age detecting machine.
Ah, now I may be something of a surprise to you.
Scanning. Subject age, 98, 176, 321, 457, 646, 6. Systems overloading.
Serves you right for being such a nosy Barker.
I was sent to the end, where you go when you hit 70. All the elderly are sealed into power armor to fight an eternal war to keep the city safe from alien invaders. The cover art honestly doesn't do the suit justice. I mean, look at that and listen to this clip.
Robotic suit?
Conscript received. Locking exo armor.
Ah, stop that right now! I'd rather my appendages weren't encased in heavy armor. Thank you very much. Not that anyone ever listens to me. The universe is renowned for paying no... Ouch! Do be careful. Oh! If you've quite finished... No. Now that I can't abide. Desist immediately. I do not carry guns. Particularly not large ones. So kindly stop attaching them to me.
That is more like Space Marine armor. Disappointing choice, cover. Obviously, there's more to it than what I've talked about, but I don't want to spoil it too much, seeing as there's even more stuff beyond the stuff I'm not telling you about. This is a plot that hits you with twists and then never stops. Honestly, I loved it. The ultimate explanation of what's going on seems to be a bit contentious. It was just such a realistic feeling to have a bastardry taken to a ridiculous degree. Anyway, the story makes the most of the setting by splitting the team up. Flip in the beginning, Constance in the middle, and the Doctor at the end. All making friends, doing their best to communicate, meet up again, and ultimately win. It's very neat, but it has some problems. One, it means that the best element of this era is lost for most of it. Flip and Constance's dialogue. Separate, they're great. Together, they're amazing.
Oh, come on. No secrets, not between us. I'm 19, he's 900 and whatever he says today, and you are...
35. I am 35. Now, can we leave it at that?
Doctor, this had better be Planet Ibiza or something, because I've got a Wren party to organise.
What?
We're in the middle of a technological marvel.
In that case, there's got to be somewhere around here I can get some T-shirts made.
What?
Who fancies a trot down a fire escape? Wren party!
Oh, I really don't want all this fuss.
I'm not sure you've much choice in the matter.
I got it. Spa.
Spa?
Yeah, do it for your mum every year. She goes loopy for a spa day. How would you feel, Connie, about a proper birthday pamper?
Oh, I'm not sure. Well, the last time we visited a spa...
That was back in 1700 and something. On the other side of the square, I saw this place that looked like a health spa. Massages, facials, that kind of thing. Only with robots.
I suppose it sounds rather more civilised than a Wren party.
That's right.
Is it?
All right, but we're still calling it a Wren party.
I have a feeling I'm going to regret this.
And two, it is kinda convoluted. Constance and Flip's new allies just happen to be father and daughter.
What a stroke of luck!
But I suppose the world and plot is extremely complicated, and that kind of streamlines that. Anyway, the cast is very strong here, most notably Mark Heap from Spaced as the middleman, the sinister manager of the middle.
Your age today?
60, sir.
I see. 10 more years. How does that feel? I must say I'm not looking forward to it myself. Too much to do first.
I'm excited at the prospect. The great unknown.
Your departure will benefit your world.
Who also leads the army in the end.
The end? I salute you.
The end is the beginning.
And what a beginning you are. Our whole civilization looks up to you with unfathomable respect. What you will do in the next 24 hours will echo through our future history. Your lives have been lived well.
There's also a lot of lovely character stuff involving the elderly troops, most notably a couple who've been married for over 50 years and are itching to go into combat together.
Rowan and I celebrated our 51st wedding anniversary last week, Doctor.
Oh, congratulations. Though I can't imagine these suits go well with a candlelit meal.
Oh, we made it work. Means he can still pick me up anyway. Carry me across the threshold and all that.
51 years. It's gone in a flash, hasn't it? I remember our first date at the ice rink. You showed me how to go backwards.
Now, don't get soppy. We've got a guest.
I'll take every opportunity to be soppy. You have to when you're getting ready for war.
This is just fantastic all round. Colin Baker agreed. He quite liked the way they'd set up society in this planet.
I think the middle tells a great story. Let the young, run around, have fun and frolic and all that. Let the people in the middle age do what they do. And then let the old people have a damn good time smashing everything to pieces. So I approve of that.
Anyway, here's some highlights because it's that good. A guy spots the Doctor on CCTV.
Computer, camera 342, please.
342 full screen.
Hold on. Please check color balance.
Color balance correct.
That coat actually looks like that.
The trio in a spa together. Just listen to the very odd sounds coming from Constance in the background.
Your two friends. How old are they? You can't ask that. Miss Clark here is a lady. A lady who's just turning 35.
Oh, so that's why you're here. A goodbye party.
Goodbye to what?
Well, her freedom.
What?
And you're...
And of course, Flip obsessively calling their outing a wren party. As a reference to a hen party.
Chloe's got some spare tickets to an all-nighter in the West Square. Oh, come on, do we fancy it? Wren party, wren party.
Oh, I'm not sure.
Static comes next, and it's one of Big Finish's masterpieces, and there will be spoilers. It's the 80s, and the trio arrive in a small caravan park where it's forbidden to use radios, TV, anything that can pick up static. Because when you use them, the voices of the dead can phone you, an impenetrable mist will descend, time will stop, and the dead will arrive. Think of this as Big Finish's answer to both The Empty Child and Blank. As in, it goes full-on horror, there's wild time stuff going on, and it involves World War II. It's a rare story because it's almost perfect. From the acting, to the plot, to the scripting, to the sound design. I've almost no complaints. If you only listen to one of these stories, make it static. But please listen to more than one of these stories. They're uncommonly good. Also in the mix are a young couple who recently had a family tragedy. The girlfriend's sister drowned and they both blame themselves for it.
So, anyway, I brought some photos of Susanna.
I can't believe this.
So we can remember her for what she was like when she was alive.
Hang on. Some of these are from the holiday. From the day that she died.
Yeah, I know. I had the film on my camera for ages.
Put them away.
What?
I don't want to look at them. Put them away.
All right.
And the boyfriend has heard rumours about this site. There's also an eccentric elderly war veteran who runs the caravan site by himself and will destroy any electronics if he finds them.
Hey, what's going on? Percy, please, just put the axe down.
Hey! I told you! No radios, no cassette players, no televisions!
He's been there, almost always alone, ever since World War II, when the local area was a top-secret installation being run by the Royal Air Force, until the main building burned down under circumstances that no one will talk about. Elsewhere on the grounds is an ancient stone circle with twin altars in the centre, and trees that grow mindless human bodies. This is a very unusually shaped story. Between half and 3/4 of it is just set up, just vibing in the horror and atmosphere until it finally unleashes the Who sci-fi stuff in the last part. I'm not complaining though, the slow burn horror atmosphere is the best part of an excellent story. 6 gets to be unusually conniving, almost like a precursor to 7, being unemotional when needed, callously using someone, and bringing Flip to a breakdown for the greater good.
Shut it!
I can't really avoid this spoiler, so I'm just gonna say it. In part 3, the Doctor and Constance are in World War II in the secret base, meeting the caretaker as a young man, while Flip is in the modern day with most of the main cast, and the phone starts ringing.
The phone?
We should leave it.
We don't know who else it will be.
It'll be someone else who's dead, and I think we've got enough.
I'm going to answer it.
Listen, I don't think that's a good idea.
What, are you going to stop me?
Hey, well, I got rid of it, put on the septic tank. Oh, what's going on now? Who's calling now?
Oh, look, how am I supposed to know?
I only asked.
All right. I'll answer it. Hello? No.
Well, who was it?
Flip, who was it? Who did you hear? Hold on, somebody's coming through now. I can see him.
Oh my... I don't believe it.
Oh, where am I? Oh, what happened?
Connie!
And that's not even the cliffhanger. Instead, they save the cliffhanger for the shock reveal that aliens are being nefarious.
It is time, Philippa.
Time? Time for what?
For the rest of us to come.
The rest of who?
Anyone who is brought back carries us within them. We are the static.
We are the static.
Constance!
But we are merely the first. The first of many.
This is how good the story is. My biggest complaint is that they cliffhangered the wrong thing. Constance is dead, and they cliffhangered the aliens. Anyways, so what was going on in World War II? The Air Force knew about the weird properties of the area and have been calling dead airmen back. If they don't answer, the missing is still alive. If they arrive, they're dead and are questioned about their final minutes for intel and technical faults. Anything that would help the war effort.
Sir, they're coming through now.
Good Lord. There are over a dozen of them.
That's it. Keep coming. We're expecting you. Hey, where are we? Where's my plane? Gentlemen, as far as you're concerned, a couple of seconds ago, your planes were on fire.
Then they get sent back into the mist where they came from. It's delightfully fucked up. Anyway, I don't want to give away any more spoilers, just listen to it. But have some facts. David Graham plays the caretaker in his 20s and his 60s. Okay, I'm going to give you a couple of seconds. Guess how old you think David Graham was when he played the part.
I'm the site manager. There is one more thing.
Yeah?
A little rule. The use of radios, cassette recorders and portable televisions is strictly forbidden.
Describe what you saw.
Extensive construction work and dozens of anti-aircraft emplacements. That's what brought us down, sir.
Go on.
Yes, sir. We flew right into it. The engines caught fire and we went into a tailspin.
The answer is 91 years old. A 91-year-old playing a 20-something and mostly pulling it off. He's not the most famous, but Graham is a voice-acting legend in the UK. He made his Who debut back in the 60s as one of the 2 original voice actors for the Daleks in their first story.
I have returned the girl to the cell. Very well. They are asking for water. Give them some.
He even came back last year, aged 98, and recorded new Dalek voices for a re-edit of the Daleks. He was one of Jerry Anderson's repertory voice actors and played Gordon Tracy, Brains, Parker, and Carano in Thunderbirds. He returned to Who and the Gunfighters in City of Death, played Big Brother in the iconic 80s Mac advert, and Grandad in Peppa Pig. He had a stroke a couple of years ago and is still only semi-retired as a voice actor. Not a household name, but acting royalty. Anyway, I'm going to end this here. This is a fantastic story, and easily the best horror story Six has had since The Nowhere Place. And unlike The Nowhere Place, this doesn't fuck it up. It sticks the landing beautifully. I don't say this lightly, but the worst thing about this story is the cover. It's a dour, grim, horrifying, dark story. The cover has Constance gurning next to a snot-covered tree monster, while Six vainly tries to dominate the scene with his trousers. This was written by Jonathan Morris, who created Flip and wrote Vortex Ice. He's usually a dependable and clever writer, and to me, this is his best work. Anyway, about Constance, they don't undo her death. She is dead, but it's Doctor Who and she's got a really stiff upper lip, so she keeps calm and carries on. At this point, Big Finish were generally releasing stories in rough trilogies in the main range. The trilogies were not usually connected by a larger story, but the stories pretty much happened one after the other. And this trilogy, The Behemoth, The Middle and Static, is easily one of the strongest I've ever had. I strongly recommend them all. Next is Cry of the Vultress, and it's probably the weakest of the Constance and Flip run. The trio land on a planet inhabited by the Vulturess, who are basically the Skeksis from the Dark Crystal. On the day they're due to make intergalactic first contact, and end up embroiled in all sorts of political intrigue, feuding royals, ancient timeless shenanigans, and a revolution. It's not bad, it's very not bad, but plot-wise, it is generic. The actual planet is kind of unique though. The land is incredibly mountainous, with peaks that dwarf the largest mountains Constance ever seen.
Now we're above the mist. I can see how impressive your planet is. Mountains like I've never seen. They dwarf anything on my own world.
These are the lowlands of Sigiarima.
And only avian or avian-related species are running around. Large predatory birds, chocobos for getting around, and at a banquet, all the birds and lizards you could eat.
That's a ton of food.
Oh, the Vultures don't scrimp on celebration, do they?
But what are we about to eat, exactly?
I think I recognise several types of poultry. Some kind of vegetable dish. That one there looks like a roast lizard.
Yeah, it's staring at me. Birds and lizards eating birds and lizards. Isn't that like cannibalism or something?
Oh, you're a mammal that eats other mammals, Flip. No different.
And I could murder a burger.
Oh, these vegetables are delicious. Here, look, try some.
No, pass me that lizard.
Oh, well, if you must indulge.
When in Rome.
Here you are.
The aliens arriving are the Ice Warriors in one of their peaceful periods, and it's nice to hear from them again. Adele Lynch, who plays their leader, previously played the Empress and Empress of Mars. Same voice, different character. But as you'd probably expect, there's more going on with them than appears. With the concentration of galactic intrigue, the battle between tradition and the future, alien royalty stuff, and the Ice Warriors, this really feels like a reskinned Paladin story. One that's been put into a blender with the Dark Crystal. You see, not only are the Vultures the Skeksis, but the plot involves incredibly powerful crystals. Anyway, Constance has decided to stay in the TARDIS rather than go home again. At least for now. She's trying to adjust to dying and being resurrected as her own not-quite-human tree clone, which I can't really fault her for.
I've been thinking, since our experience with the static, it's as if... I don't know how to explain it. I feel normal, but at the same time, I'm also fully aware that this isn't the body I was born in. I'm not sure I can go home just yet.
You'd like to stay?
For a little while longer. Not forever, of course.
Of course.
Just until I feel myself 100%.
Well, this may be selfish, but I can't say I'm not a little pleased.
Anyway, this was solid but unremarkable. If it happened in Charlie's or Constance's solo stories, it would have been in the top half. Unfortunately, Flip and Constance's run is extremely strong, meaning it appears worse than it is. I've not been talking about Flip much in this video, so I thought I'd let you know that while she's had less to do compared to Constance, Lisa Greenwood is still magnificent as Flap. Really sparklingly naturalistic, and she gets her chance to shine in the next story, Scorched Earth, another mostly classic. It's the closing days of the Second World War, and they arrive in a newly liberated French village in the middle of a well-earned celebration. Seeing firsthand that the war effort was worth it almost makes Constance's stiff upper lip quiver.
Looks like the cavalry just rolled in.
This is magnificent.
Constance, please reconsider. I really don't think you should be seeing this.
Those are Allied transports, aren't they? And British British uniform.
You knew we won.
Well, the doctor had mentioned it in a very vague and tight-lipped manner that I think was meant to be reassuring.
I thought I was being reassured.
But to actually see it, to see the end of the war, Philippa, oh, this is remarkable.
Then they notice a local girl who's been tied up and being abused by a crowd for collaboration. She fell in love with a German who later died on the Eastern Front. Flip is aghast and wants to help, and Constance is mostly unsympathetic.
Please! Don't! Please!
You can't just do that!
Philippa, I know this is hard to watch, but please take a hold of yourself.
Honey, I can't believe you're saying this. We have to do something.
Put yourself in their shoes. France has been through so much humiliation, so much pain. And this woman, well, they say she betrayed them to the Nazis. To the Nazis, Philippa. I may not agree with the method of their justice, but it is still justice.
You really believe that?
I do.
The disconnect here lasts the whole story and almost destroys the relationship. This is one of the great things that you can do with a historical and a modern companion. Two good people with wildly different contexts coming to a very strong disagreement. The other great duo for this is Perry and Ehrman with 5. Unfortunately, where they tend to stick the landing and avoid coming down on the modern being best, this one pretty quickly concludes that Constance is ultimately wrong, and as a result the story is a little less nuanced and a little more simplistic. It takes the side that strangers with no connection to the war know better than the people who suffered it. And even Constance, who has more of an idea than Flip, changes her mind.
You made me feel like I didn't know you, and I thought I did. I really hoped I did, because I liked what I knew.
Oh, Philippa, you do know me.
Yeah?
I'm not angry anymore. I'm not. But what I'd hate most of all, is to think that you and
I forgive you, Connie.
Thank you, Philippa.
This is one of the things that's stopping Scorched Earth from being an all-time classic. Don't get me wrong, I feel Flip was ultimately in the right. I just think the story should have left the rightness and wrongness for the listener to decide, rather than telling us that we're better than French villagers who spent years suffering and dying and are pissed off about it. Anyway, Flip tried to rescue the girl and is faced down by an angry mob, and the doctor makes her stand down.
Hey, stay back! All of you stay back!
Today is a day for France. Do not obstruct that.
Please stop. This girl is my friend. She doesn't know what she's saying.
Connie!
I suspect she knows exactly what she's saying. With the mouth of a traitor.
Oh, so I'm a traitor now. I only just got here.
I appear to be a little out of the loop. What have I missed?
Doctor.
I think there may have been a little misunderstanding here.
Misunderstanding?
If you'll allow us, we'll be on our way.
Doctor, you can't seriously be saying that we should let them do this.
Flip, give me the scissors.
Doctor,
I know exactly what you want to do, because I feel it too in both hearts, believe me. But I need you to give me the scissors right now.
Colin Baker said he had issues with that scene, but justified it by deciding that if Six had been alone, he'd have done all he could to save the girl. But he had to protect Flip foremost.
If he was on his own, I think he might have done. Had he not had them to protect, I think he would have stood in front of her and said, cut mine first.
But this is not a pure historical, though honestly it might have been better if it was. A member of the Resistance has kinda bonded with an alien made of fire that feeds on hate and has been directing at collaborators, proven or not.
I know writers who use subtext and they're all cowards.
Eventually, he aims it at the Doctor, Flip and Constance, and Six has the genius plan to convince it to go to Berlin.
Doctor, are you sure about this? Righto then, I'll be quiet.
And dear Furio, all you need to do is follow that convoy. Now go and be led to Berlin.
The war is still going on, and he figures it's far enough away that there'll be time to catch up and stop it before it arrives. So the second half of the story is a bit of a wacky racers type chase, with the Doctor and Flip in a plane and Constance in a car with some Nazi POWs they've enlisted at. The first half of the story is heavily dramatic, very real world, kind of intense. The second half is kind of silly, at times it's like it's trying to be a comedy.
So, if we've got a way out.
Oh, you think we have an escape tunnel?
Well, do you?
Of course, it's just over here. We were just waiting for you to arrive so we could use it.
Oh, good! We've joined forces with sarcastic Nazis. Doctor, what have you done?
Constance, wait.
Everything you said about forgiveness, about peace. You've sent that fireball to a city of men, women, and children. You've signed their death sentences, Doctor. Hundreds of thousands of them, just to save our skins. Doctor, what have you done?
Now, Constance, let me explain.
Actually, hold on to that thought. There's one very important thing I must do first.
What? You're in the middle of telling me off!
Keys are under the seat.
Excellent. And who's going to fly her? You? Oh.
What?
No, seriously, you.
Don't get me wrong, it's good, especially when the Doctor works out what to do with the fire monster.
I've had a chance to rack my brain since we last spoke, and I've realized that I can do better than Berlin. There is one place in the universe that is absolutely 100% perfect for you. Tell me, have you ever heard of Skaro? Oh, you'll love it.
But it feels a little disjointed. Anyway, this story is at its best when dealing with the conflict between Flip and Constance. Between Flip's naive heroism and privilege of never suffering in a war, juxtaposed with Constance's nuance and first-hand knowledge that war is a field of grey. Apart from the narrative taking sides on this, I was disappointed that it's all dealt with by the end. It could have been an ongoing issue for them, but nah, the reset button was hit. Anyway, their last main range adventure was a Lovecraft Invasion. It was recorded not long before the initial COVID lockdowns, and Lisa Greenwood being hit hard with long COVID. Basically, a malicious alien that brings imagination to life has taken up residence in H.P. Lovecraft's brain and intends to destroy the world. Hilariously, this is a concept that Russell Davies came up with for New Who, and would have starred J.K. Rowling as herself. The episode didn't happen because David Tennant told it was a dumb idea. A good call on the scale of whoever it was that stopped Patrick Troughton from playing two in blackface. Anyway, all this means that the team needs to split up. The Doctor and Flip enter Lovecraft's mind, while Constance and the all-new character and kinda, sorta, nearly companion Calypso Jones deal with stuff in the real world, in between some light flirting, which mostly goes for Constance's head.
You're doing admirably, Miss Jones.
Likewise. But it's just Jones, okay?
Jones, of course. Still getting used to all that.
And doing so admirably, Mrs. C.
About that, if I can learn to call you Jones, surely you can learn to call me Mrs. Clark.
Sure. Sorry.
This is a story with its heart in the right place, but it doesn't handle its subject matter too well. The story doesn't shy away from the reality of Lovecraft's well-documented bigotry, but it does it in the worst way by having other characters talk about it without Lovecraft doing much. It's telling, not showing.
Howard Phillips Lovecraft, an American author of weird fiction, and quite frankly, not one I ever wanted to meet. On top of which he was a racist and an all-round xenophobe. And his prejudices infused his work, so like I said, this is bad.
Oh, I can't wait to meet him.
I never knew about Lovecraft being racist, though. If I had... I don't know. That's why the Somnifax picked him, isn't it?
Oh, because of his racism? Yes, I'm sure it made him all the more attractive to it. For a weaponized mind parasite passing through early 20th century Earth, he's an absolute goldmine.
And here we are, inside his bonds.
Yes, indeed. Make no mistake, this is hostile territory.
And honestly, kinda like a very special episode about racism. Now, Lovecraft does say one or two things. For instance, he calls someone a mongrel.
Madness! Oh, come on! Get away from me, you mongrel spawn!
But it's done after being harassed and terrified and verbally abused by the heroes. It's bad. Fuck yes, it's bad. But it's also far less bad than you see on Twitter every day, or in old films or in books from the time. In short, it doesn't show that Lovecraft is as bad as they say. Which means that Lovecraft doesn't come across as extremely racist for his time, which he was. Instead, he comes across as basically a normal person from then, maybe slightly better. Mix that with the main characters insulting him and talking about his bigotry over and over and over again, and it comes across a bit like bullying this random author. It's a difficult subject, you don't want racism in the story, but at the same time, you need it for context. Because if you don't know Lovecraft, your heroes just look like dicks. Maybe there's no good way to handle this story, I don't know. And to make this even worse, this story is set in the last months of Lovecraft's life, when he decried a number of his earlier views and was trying to be a better man. If you know enough about Lovecraft to know exactly how racist he was, then you probably know how his views were improving in the last years of his life. They chose the worst possible time to set this story to depict him like this. And then, right at the end, they had the Doctor say this.
You know, Mr. Lovecraft, you could so easily have been better than you are. It's a blind, hateful, cruel, and cowardly arrogance. It is the rankest of stupidities. And the truth of it is, the people who hold such views make themselves the worst of humanity. They are always the real monsters.
I repeat, Lovecraft had already changed and improved at this point. We don't exactly know by how much, but it's clear from his letters that he had. And he had a lot of anger for his younger self. If they did this with young Lovecraft, I'd feel so much better about it. Or Lovecraft in New York, when his racism was in many ways at its strongest. But they chose to set it when he was dying a better man. Then they denied that he could be that better man.
You know, Mr. Lovecraft, you could so easily have been better than you are.
Don't get me wrong, doubtless when he died he was still a racist by our standards, and probably his own too, but he had changed for the better, even if it was just a small way, and this is not a fair portrayal. And let's not forget that Six was partying with literal slave owners in the Behemoth.
Mrs. Middlemint.
Theodosia, please.
Theodosia. Might I have the honor?
Oh, sir, you may indeed.
You can't look. You'll never get away with it.
Except that... Good grief. He's rather good. I don't think he actually knows what he's doing.
And he was already friends with Winston Churchill at this point, who supported gassing lesser races and tribes. But Lovecraft gets special scorn.
Do not insult me by suggesting we are alike in any way.
Maybe Lovecraft's biggest crime was not being racist and British. I'm obsessing over this because I'm a history buff, and this is the most literary Who story I've ever come across. It's practically a love letter to Lovecraft, much in the same way the Adventures of Mark Twain was to Twain. But instead of presenting him, warts and all, it also misrepresents the man by telling us that he's even worse than he was.
You know, Mr. Lovecraft, you could so easily have been better than you are.
And that is unfair. And it's really sad because writer Rob Valentine did his research. This story depicts his terror at doctors, which might have killed him, that he called his fatal gut pain the grip, and he didn't finalize his divorce from his wife because he probably still had feelings for her.
My dearest Sonia. My darling, if you will still permit me that expression. The truth is... Some things a gentleman shouldn't commit to paper, old man.
Side note, but I need to talk about this story in my Mel and Hebe video, because the purity arc is god-awful, and this story somehow makes it even worse. And if I forget to go into it there, please remind me to do a separate video, because I will be ranting. Anyway, the stuff in Lovecraft's imagination includes references to easily over a dozen stories, from settings to characters to monsters to more. It even goes back to his letters and uses his pronunciation of Cthulhu.
They knew my name!
Not just yours, Howie. They were chanting to Cthulhu back there.
Ah, Cthulhu.
Mr. Lovecraft?
Sorry, that is the correct pronunciation.
Right.
It's like it's trying to be the final word in separating the art from the artist by celebrating the fuck out of the art while laying as much scorn as possible on the artist. But there is a reason for this. From what I've read, the story was in post-production when the George Floyd protest began, and Big Finish realised that doing a story about a famous bigot wasn't maybe a great idea. So rather than drop the story or delay it, they added extra sections attacking Lovecraft's racism.
Doctor, given what he was, how come people are still reading Lovecraft in my time?
Yeah, it's a good question, Flip. If someone does choose to read his work, they must do so with the knowledge it was written by a racist, which is why I don't bother.
Me neither now.
Although if you're in the habit of consuming art, it's a problem you will hit sooner or later, and when you do, you can't ignore it. In Lovecraft's case, you couldn't if you tried. As well as his racism being well known about, it's frequently there in the text.
Oh, nice. It makes me feel sick.
Same here.
Its heart is in the right place, what with it being straightly anti-racist, but the end result is kind of flawed. Anyway, I loved Calypso Jones. They're a 51st century bounty hunter, a bit like Captain Jack in New Who Series 1.
Look, from what you guys have told me, I get the impression you travel around the universe doing good and generally having adventures, right?
Well, we...
Sort of. After a fashion. Okay, and would it be fair to say this is a not-for-profit enterprise you've got going?
Well, we don't exactly invoice Calypso. Saving the universe tends to be its own reward.
Good, because the bounty on this thing's pretty significant, and well, I really hate sharing.
Oh, you needn't worry on that score. Once we've dealt with it, any financial remuneration for doing so is yours.
Thanks, Doc. I knew you were a good one.
Now, if we're quite done negotiating the fiscal arrangements...
The inevitable?
Oh, just a figure of speech.
My head feels peculiar. What happened to me?
That'll be the somnifax hunkering down in his posterior parietal cortex.
Oh, Lord, that's just how Father went.
I really don't think it is, mate.
There is one thing before we leave, Ms. Jones.
Yeah? What's that?
If we're to get by unchallenged, we can't have you running about town again in your future clothes. I strongly suggest you borrow one of my Aunt Annie's dresses.
Oh, do you?
As a matter of fact, I insist. I told you to take some of my aunt's clothes, Ms. Jones.
None of her togs fit.
It'll do for now, Mr. Lovecraft.
That suit was my Sunday best.
It still is, Stringbean. It still is. Now, let's go find that breach.
We'll have to get past that guard.
But how? He doesn't look very friendly, does he?
Don't worry. Leave this to me. Phew, looks like we made it inside just in time.
I'm sorry, we're close to visitors.
Good, because I'm Dr. Jones from Danvers State Lunatic Asylum. This is Nurse Ratchet, and this is our patient, Hannibal Lecter. We'd like to sign in and take a look around if that's all right with you.
Certainly, Doctor. Sign here.
Thank you. Come along, sister. This way, Hannibal.
What was that?
A cerebral manipulator. They're banned in most sectors, but I never got round to handing mine in.
They're pansexual, mixed race, gender fluid, trans, and part alien. They were created to be everything Lovecraft was scared of, and they lampshaded it in some of the most gloriously unsubtle dialogue possible.
I feel faint.
Quit swooning. My point is, I know you. I know what you are. So let me tell you something about me. I'm a mixed-race, pansexual, trans, non-binary person from a future that's coming whether you like it or not. And on top of that, I'm not even entirely human.
Dear Lord.
That's right. I'm everything that scares you in one stylish package, and I don't have time to deal with you.
I love that bit. I love it for its audacity, its over-the-topness, its complete lack of sense, and for the fact that it assumes that Lovecraft would have any idea what most of those terms mean. It's just gloriously, hilariously terrible. Calypso's basically a Han Solo type crossed with a River Song type, and expertly straddles the line between amazing and irritating as fuck. I love them in Constance's double act. We don't know how Constance's story ends yet, but if I get my way, she'll end up in the far future with Calypso. Oh, fun fact, Calypso's voice actor is Robin Holdaway from Sex Education, and I recently discovered they review binders on YouTube.
I'm shocked by how comfortable this binder is, given the high level of compression. The pressure feels evenly distributed, and I can breathe easily. I could almost forget I was wearing a binder. It feels more like a sports bra. I like the cut of this binder. The armholes are wide enough for a full range of motion, but I don't have any side spillage.
Anyway, the stuff inside Lovecraft's mind is mostly very well realised. Like I said, it's practically a love letter to his work. The Doctor and Flip meet his characters, get menaced by his monsters, and have many conversations about separating the art from the artist. They even team up with Randolph Carter, who gets to meet Lovecraft.
And he's a novelist?
Same as you.
Incredible.
You okay, Mr. Carter?
It's quite all right, my dear. It's just not every day you find out God's a Yankee.
And we get some fantastic lines from Randolph as he grapples with the sudden knowledge that he's fictional, and that his creator wasn't even successful.
The so-called mad Arab hinted that the universe was merely a dream of a blind idiot god called Azathoth, and that if he ever awoke, it would all vanish. Who'd have thought that all this time Azathoth was an author in New England?
Anyway, this is also the story where I realised that Flip seems to know something connected to most stories she does, but always through a family member or a friend of a friend or something random. Like in The Curse of Davros, when she knew the basics of Napoleon's defeat because she liked ABBA.
What do you know of Waterloo?
The Battle of Waterloo?
Yes.
Well, I know that at Waterloo, Napoleon did surrender.
And who told you that, may I ask?
ABBA.
In this case, she knows Lovecraft because she used to play a Lovecraft-based RPG with her cousin when she was a kid. If you're listening to Flip's stories, keep an ear out for this. I think it's a great, subtle running joke that Flip knows a lot, but it's never through actual learning.
I can't say I've read all his stories exactly, but my big cousin Darren...
The gamer?
Yeah, he used to let me join in on his Cthulhu game nights, but then one time he caught me reading the end of the game book and he banned me from playing after that. But I did watch a lot.
Good.
Lovecraft was voiced by Alan Marriott, who honestly kind of sounds like he's doing a Jeffrey Combs impersonation.
At least I haven't gone mad as my parents did. Unless that's what I'm doing right now. Once upon a time we lived in this grand house. But they both spent their final days incarcerated in Butler Hospital.
Apart from his work on Reanimator, Combs has played Lovecraft as an action hero in an animated kids film, and even on Scooby-Doo. He's who a lot of people think of when they think of actors on Lovecraft. But listening to him in the making of, it's mostly just Marriott's actual voice.
I wasn't as familiar as some people in the cast were with Lovecraft's world, but you really can't be an avid reader and not.
And it is a close match for how Lovecraft's voice was described. Soft, nasally, high-pitched with a New England accent. Which means that while he's no Combs, he's probably closer than Combs ever got. Even though occasionally he sounds kind of southern.
I swear to you it's all true.
Oh, really? Tell it to the men in the white coats. And how do I remove this confounded contraption?
My feelings on the Lovecraft Invasion are very conflicted. On the one hand, it is a celebration of an author. On the other hand, it is kind of a well-meaning hit job on the author. Like the Calypso monologue, it is both terrible and great. Anyway, like I said earlier, after recording the Lovecraft Invasion, Lisa Greenwood came down hard with COVID and developed a long COVID. She's recently returned to the role of Flip in Six's 40th anniversary special, The Quinn Dilemma, though, after a 4-year absence, so hopefully we'll be seeing more of her in the near future. In continuity, the last we heard of her was the end of the beginning, which had to be hastily rewritten after she fell ill to replace Flip with Calypso Jones, who instantly continued flirting with Constance.
Mrs. Clark?
Hello, Jones.
You remembered. As a matter of fact, I've been thinking about you too.
What?
What?
But I'll be talking about that story in a video for crossovers and the like. Flip herself was recovering in hospital after being stung by a space bug. Shortly after the release of the Lovecraft Invasion, they ended the main range, and now box sets of multiple shorter adventures are released instead. I much prefer the main range's longer story approach, but hopefully this makes things a little less daunting for new fans. Anyway, it's kind of hard to choose the best and worst for the Constance and Flip era because they're generally so good. There were 7 adventures, 3 are top tier and mostly excellent, the Behemoth, the Middle, and Static, though Static was the best. 2 are part great and really flawed, Scorched Earth and Lovecraft Invasion, and Quicksilver and Cry the Vulturous are merely really good. So with the caveat that best and worst really shouldn't apply here, I'm giving Static the top spot and Cry of the Vulturous last place because it's unoriginal. Overall, this is one of the strongest eras in Who history, and it's a perfect spot to start listening.